We downsized for freedom and nearly destroyed everything we built.
If you're thinking of moving, this could save your sanity, your marriage, and your future.
I so clearly remember going to the storage unit in Portchester, New York. 2 storage units in Portchester, New York. Unlocking it and lifting it up because we were thinking of moving from New York up to Connecticut. So this was...
2018?
Yeah, that was our third or fourth attempt at downsizing. We got married, we put stuff together, but I remember that storage unit, you couldn't get in. Luckily, we had things on rollable carts, so we started to take things out and look at everything that was there and realize, I mean, at first glance, like, we can't get rid of any of this. And then we realized we have to get rid of most, if not all of it. We cannot continue to drag this stuff through our lives. We had things in there like my kids' baseball trophies from when they were 6. Like all of that stuff. And it created such stress for us because I had my kids' stuff, your kids' stuff, my first marriage stuff, your first marriage stuff, our marriage stuff. It was a disaster.
Somehow, when we combined families back 16 or 17 years ago, we ended up with all the kids' stuff. I don't know how that happened, but we ended up with all the boxes of all the kids' stuff. Like all the homemade everything, all the report cards, all the pictures. And while our storage unit, we organized pretty well, every kid had, I'm going to say, at least 4 boxes times 6 kids. That's 24 boxes. I think we were pretty good at downsizing our stuff. And then unfortunately and cataclysmically, then your parents died, my parents died, and we ended up with all of their stuff. Like your siblings really only took what they wanted and left us with the stuff, and my brother really didn't take anything.
Right.
So all of a sudden as we were getting rid of our stuff, about to tackle the kids' stuff, we got more stuff.
Well,
we were the keepers of stuff.
You know, it's funny because your brother called not so long ago and said, hey, I was going through some stuff in my basement and I found all of Mom's slide carousels.
That's right. 300 boxes of 100 each.
And you know what, Jody? I think you'd be better off holding these than me. And I looked at you and said, no,
I mean,
way.
They are like kind of heart-tugging.
Sure, but let him do the heart-tugging throwing out.
I don't want to throw him out.
No.
There is stuff like that in your world that keeps you attached because they're memories, right?
So, so this, fast forward to today, we still have a storage unit, but it's really small. And it probably only has 40 boxes in it.
And 24 of them are still the kids.
Doesn't matter. And I think what we'll do is we'll ship them to my ex-wife and your ex-husband.
No, that's not nice.
So but the point of today's video is to walk you through kind of what we went through, what you probably go through. This is one of the hardest things couples go through is downsizing. Some people get stuck because while downsizing feels productive, it often has a deeper aimlessness. You just stare at these boxes and don't know what to do. And on the other side of it, a new house, people think, well, a new house is going to reset all of our problems.
Right.
And it won't.
Right.
Unless you do it a certain way.
Well, and I think it's not only about what's in the storage space, right? Because you really need to not only downsize so you're not paying that storage fee every month, but also downsize what's in your home, with the light of, what do I want my home to look like that represents me today, not what represents me from 20 years ago, right? It should really be, the space should represent who you are now. And downsizing, doesn't always mean, going from large space to small space. It's really all about clutter.
Well, I think that's the new perspective we want to share with you, is that this whole thing about downsizing, getting rid of the boxes, getting a smaller house or a bigger house, does that better reflect your identity? And we're going to get into it in the details here, but we're in our 4th house together. now, and it's different. This is a different house. It's a summer house, and it's a little bit bigger. It has room for all of our 6 kids, which is important. So it's a vacation place.
It has room for
and
them.
It reflects who we are now.
But it has room for them. It does not have room for their stuff.
No.
While there's room for everyone, and this is something I always tell the kids, there's room for everyone, but no one has a room. So in other words, you can't claim a room to yourself and start loading it up with your stuff.
Right. So let's go through some steps here. The first one is these boxes, the boxes that we have, and you probably have boxes too in the basement, cardboard or see-through, and they're labeled. They're not just boxes, and it's not just junk. They're emotional landmines. When you open them up, when I open up the box of my kids' trophies, I can remember seeing them playing Little League and the baseball and getting the trophy and bringing it home and putting it on the shelf in their room. But having it sit in the box is not helpful. It's not doing anything. It's delaying this process of it's really time to let go of these things. And it takes a phone call to Christopher or a picture and say, I have these. Do you want them?
Right.
Because if you do, I'll ship them to you. And if you don't, I'm going to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And that's emotional. It's really emotional to do.
Well, it's more about sorting, the stuff and sorting your identity at that moment, like really revisiting what type of dad you were at that moment, because you don't have the opportunity to be that dad again.
No.
So it's sorting that emotion and really going slow with yourself, I think, as you get through it.
Right.
I mean, you kind of were a little crisp there in the beginning, telling me to tell my brother to take a hike with all my memories. I will say that was a little crisp.
Take a hike, or we don't want more stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are we gonna have a fight about this?
No. The next one that I think is really interesting, and we did try this when we moved from New York to Connecticut. We tried this idea of being a minimalist, right? So like only sparingly decorating the house and only sparingly having so many, pictures or memorabilia or memories or trophies or whatever they might be. And you have to really walk the delicate balance, I think, between being minimalist and still having comfort. What provides you comfort? I know for me, I have a lot of vases, and some of them were my mom's and some of them I've purchased and some of them I've been given over time. But when I see them with flowers in it, and I'm a fresh flower person, that provides me comfort. So we will always have a house with those vases that have flowers in it because that provides me comfort.
And I will always struggle with the 30 vases that are in the lower cabinet where I'd rather have my pots and pans and I have to clean them. But it gives Jody joy, and it gives me joy. When we walk into the rooms in our home, it feels like our home. So it's not cluttered, it's not full of stuff we don't want, but it's full of things that make us feel like that is our home. So that's really important as you think about downsizing and decluttering. The third thing is, you're not just leaving a house, you're leaving a chapter in your life. And we've talked about this. Our house in Harrison, where we first got married and we lived in there together, and the girls all went through elementary school and high school, and we were there for half the time they were in college. When we left, and your brother helps us with this, he said, isn't it great that you're selling this house to another family who can put their kids through the school system that was pretty good at the time? And we never really looked at it that way, but we packaged that up as a chapter. Living in that house was a chapter. It wasn't like the greatest house ever. We can never leave that house. So many memories there. We have the memories and we recall that chapter. And it was a really good chapter in our life.
It was a great chapter. I mean, it was the blending of two big unwieldy families, and we had dogs, and we had sports, and we had graduations, and we had engagement parties.
Yeah.
That house had a lot of great times. And I do think my brother did help us with perspective, because the new family has an opportunity to have all of those great times. And that was a really cool thing to think about.
Well, that was so helpful because, again, the title of this is How Downsizing Almost Tore Us Apart. It is a really hard process, and reframing it is just so helpful. So
the next thing is, when we moved from our house in Harrison, New York to our house in Connecticut, or from our house in Connecticut to Florida, each of them had a new floor plan. right? None of them were the same center hall colonial or, ranch or whatever. They were all different types of houses. And what I would say is you have a new floor plan, but you still have your same old patterns, right? You still need space for yourself. You still need communal space. You still may need outdoor space. You still may need, a space for, work or study, those types of things. So new floor plan, same old patterns, make sure that you're finding as you downsize something that fits both.
Well, what I think of when I know when we wrote this down, new floor plan, same old patterns, it made me realize as we have moved into different homes, we've always kind of reset, like how will we use this home? What can we do differently? How will we cook together? Should we cook together more? We try to change things up a little bit to refresh our relationship, our life. Do we want to do more entertaining here or less entertaining? So it does also give you an opportunity, instead of lamenting over the fact we miss the old house, we miss that, no, we're going to embrace this new home and really make it different and exciting and buy a couple of new things that we want. I bought some new cooking ware, and it really has helped me get energized.
You actually changed brands of your cookware.
I did.
Which was a big thing.
So downsizing into a smaller place, intimacy shrinks with the closet. So if you move from a big home into a little home and it feels like you're in a closet, like there's hardly any rooms, that can be problematic. We ran into that when we were looking for a house here. The first one we looked at, I said to you, you didn't want to hear it, but I said to you, it's too small. I mean, for me personally, I need my space. I need somewhere to go for alone time. Doesn't mean I need a big room over a garage or something. It can't all be common space. And that's important for me. So smaller is okay. But if we had a living room, dining room, kitchen, 3-bedroom condo, let's say, one of those rooms in the condo would have to be a place for me to go to do my morning journaling, to do my work with the computer. I need that space.
Yeah. And
I think without that, you can really find yourself in a lot of trouble. So we've been careful about that. I've said no to some things, some properties, because I know it's not going to be healthy for me.
And I think you each need to kind of reflect on what would be healthy for you. I've said no to some spaces because it didn't have outdoor space.
Right.
I need the ability to get outside. I would not live well. We've got children that live in Manhattan, and we've had children that live in Manhattan with no outdoor space, and everything is inside. And to me, that wouldn't work. I need to be able to walk in and out of the house.
Right.
So the next thing I would say is don't just declutter. Really look at some of the items and decode what version of you owned that. What happened in your life when you had that, or when you inherited that, or when you bought that, or when it came into your storage unit? Who were you at that time? And that's not just trophies and things like that, but it could be, even something as meaningless as a jersey or a sweater or, a picture frame or, a bowl or a table that was given to you that you remember being very meaningful at the time. So you don't want to throw away things that are meaningful, but you need to start to order them.
So as you start to throw things away or decode them, go through a process and say, do I really need this going forward? And the things that you do need, you keep, like your serrated kitchen knife.
Oh my gosh, the best.
That you've had since college
the
when you
best.
were cooking.
The
this
best.
one little knife. We can't get rid of it.
No,
he
matter tries to get rid of it.
So now we have put it into the kitchen drawer in Florida, and we use it to open boxes. We cannot cook with it anymore. But it's this little plastic knife with a serrated thing. It's not even sharp anymore.
It's not plastic.
It feels like it, but it opens boxes. But Jody really, every time she grabs it, it brings back these memories, which are great, and we're not ever going to get rid of it. So.
I did get rid of my pans where the Teflon was coming off in our food. So, my knife's good.
So when we think about decluttering and all that, we talk about our calendar, scheduling less. But an unscheduled calendar can easily get you into what we call retirement drift. So Retirement trips loves an empty calendar where you've got nothing planned for like 3 weeks in a row. Like we have nothing planned today except this, and we have nothing planned tomorrow, and that's on purpose. And we're not going to do anything. Well, we're going to do whatever we want to do individually, I think, right?
Right.
Maybe hit couples, whatever. But you have to plan your days. You've got to put stuff in your calendar that's important. Schedule your hobby, schedule golf lessons, schedule things like that. Don't totally declutter your calendar and leave it completely empty. You're going to find yourself in trouble.
Sometimes retirement actually feels like uncertainty. When we first retired, we thought we had it all figured out.
And after 30 years of structure and purpose, we finally had freedom.
I mean, think about it. No more meetings, no more deadlines, no more client calls, no more sales calls, no more budgets, no more teams to manage. We had all the time in the world.
But within months, we were drifting. We lost our rhythm. We lost our purpose. Our health started to deteriorate, and our marriage was in trouble. We knew we had to make a change.
We were waking up each day saying, what now? And by the way, we had no answers. We believed the lie that had been told to us. It's time to sit back and fade away and do nothing and really marginalize yourself. And that's not what we wanted to do.
So we flipped the script. We started to work on our health. We started to work on our purpose. We worked hard on our relationship and our marriage. And all of a sudden now we have a new life that we are living that is absolutely amazing. And we hope that you'll join us to learn more about how we did it.
And we're going to share with you what we did in a free webinar called The Hidden Truth About Retirement. 3 reasons it's not what you were promised. Click the first link below or scan the QR code to join us.
You have one life to live and make this your best life ever. The only way to do that is to design it yourself. So join us on our free webinar.
The next thing is, your best next space, home, apartment, condo, townhouse, whatever it might be, needs to be built around your daily joys. And you touched on this a little bit. Where are you going to have your morning cup of coffee, cup of tea, cup of juice, whatever you do in the morning? Where will your rituals stay alive? And then really envision how the rhythm of your day will work in that space. And if you can do that, it'll be much easier to leave the other space and move to the new space.
Yeah, you want to build the floor plan of your new home around your life, not vice versa. So as you're looking at homes or thinking about where you're going to live and what furniture to bring, how does it all fit together to give you that daily joy that you need to live a really fun life?
Right.
Because without that, again, it's going to tear you up. There's going to be regrets. There's going to be anxiety. There's going to be I told you we shouldn't have done this and all of that. So let's talk about right sizing. Right sizing doesn't always have to be smaller. Now, in our case, this house that we're in New Jersey is bigger than we originally thought we were going to get. And it's worked out great. And it worked out great because our kids who are older, 30 to 40, 27 to 40, they all have partners. 3 are married, they have grandkids. This is a communal home for them for 3 months during the summer, June, July, and August. They're all coming to visit on a regular basis. So we needed a little bit of a larger space. It wasn't what we originally thought, but as we started talking about what's important to us now in our life at our age with our kids, we really want to make it a gathering place.
It's funny because we have a different perspective on this. While this home has more bedrooms, it doesn't have bigger communal living than any home we've ever lived in. So, for example, it doesn't have a bigger kitchen. It doesn't have a bigger living room. It does have a deck off the front, which maybe you could say that's part of the living space. It does have more individual bedrooms and bathrooms, which is critical when people come to stay. But for example, if I were to spin the camera around, you don't actually have a closet in our primary suite.
I don't.
So Mark has clothes kind of everywhere, to be honest.
Well, it's just right there.
Yeah, like everywhere.
No, just there and over there.
Yeah, and back there.
Yeah, you can't see it though.
So, while it's a bigger space, and I would agree with you on the bedrooms and bathrooms, it works for us for the 5 months that we're here. But I don't know if you could live without a true closet for 12 months of the year.
No, I wouldn't.
No. So like,
but the thing is, this is a summer home, a place to come where we all gather.
right.
And I know what you're saying. It'd be nice to have maybe a bigger room, but I don't know. It seems to be working really well.
Yeah, it definitely, I'm not, definitely not complaining, but I guess my point is right sizing isn't always smaller and it isn't always bigger. Right sizing has to fit you and your living and your cadence with your family. And are you the one that hosts everything? I mean, it would be really hard to host Thanksgiving here for 18 people.
We couldn't.
So we really couldn't.
No, we couldn't.
So it's just a matter of like, what's your cadence? Our house in Connecticut, we could host probably 30 people for Thanksgiving.
Right.
So it's just different. So we did downsize. We gained a few more bedrooms. So I think it's important in the right sizing conversation to really sit down and figure out how are you going to use your space.
Well, that leads to the next talking point is that moving may trigger a role crisis. No garage, no backyard, no giant living room, no giant dining room. And that's happened to us. We've worked through it. We talk about it. I wish we had a garage. We have a garage, but it's
full of beach chairs.
Yeah, but I don't have, I like to go outside and go to the garage. I like to putter around the lawn. We have a very small piece of property. It's just basically all house, a 3-story house. So I miss a lot of that.
Right.
But to get through this and not have me be angst and upset, we openly talk about it.
Right.
And you're encouraging for me. I'm encouraging for you. We bob and weave a little bit. But downsizing will create and can create stress and anxiety in your relationship. You have to be able to talk about it. And picking the right house is important. And you're going to probably have to give some things up, make some sacrifices.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to communicate about it. We have so many clients that are just rooted in, I'm never downsizing, I'm attached to this property, or I can't wait to get out of this house. And they're living in the same space. Yeah. And that's really hard.
Another thing you want to make sure you do is, as you're going through this process, stop before you sign. Don't commit to another home until you've really worked through everything we've talked about today. What are your routines like? Write down what's so great about this house. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Just take a pause and double and triple and quadruple check that you're both in alignment on it. Because it's a very important step. Some people never downsize. Some people downsize once. People like us, we downsize all the time, or move size. Right size. So, it's the ebb and flow for us. It's different, but you've got to make sure it's right. So it's always good to kind of pause and say, is this the right move?
Absolutely. We've made a lot of mistakes in our retirement, and we've seen a lot of other retirees do the same. We want to help you avoid them.
That's why we've created a free download, 5 steps to save you 20 years of a miserable retirement. Download it below. All right, here's a question that our team put together some questions. Hi, I'm Teresa from Denver. My husband and I just downsized, and now I feel like a guest in my own home. You get that? How do I reconnect to a space that looks perfect on paper, but feels emotionally flat? Well, that's kind of what we talked about when we had our home in Connecticut. When we first got it, we bought it and had other people's furniture in it, so it never felt like our place. So we slowly made some changes, repainted a room, picked up a couple of chairs or couches that we liked, put up some paintings or some photos of our family that we liked. We took your serrated knife and we put it on the kitchen counter so you could always see it when you came in.
I would say you have to live in the space for a while and figure out how you're going to use it, what you like about it, and what you'd like to change about it. We looked at a home where all the furniture was unbelievably beautiful, but all of it was white.
Yeah, that's right.
We knew that white furniture, as beautiful as it was in the pictures and in real life, it was gorgeous. That was not going to work for us. And I would definitely feel like a guest in that home. Yeah. We just don't have white furniture type of family, right. With dogs and kids and babies and
crayons.
We've got a couple of spillers in our mix. So, I would say live in it and figure out what you need to change and then change it slowly.
Cool. My name's George. I'm 72. Since moving, my wife and I fight more over small stuff like noise, privacy, and space. Is downsizing causing this tension, or is it just revealing what was already there?
I would say the transition, any major transition in your life, no matter what your age, but maybe especially as you age, is tenuous. And it creates tension, especially if you're not talking about it.
That's what I was going to say. Because he says, is it downsizing or is it just revealing what was already there? I mean, you'd have to answer that honestly, but sitting down with your wife and say, okay, just tell her how you're feeling and why, and let her tell you how she's feeling and why. And you don't even have to solve the problem in day one. This could be something you talk about once a week, but try to figure out what is it that's causing the problem. Is it you want to watch TV louder than she does and you want to do it somewhere else? Find somewhere else to put a TV. I mean, you have to figure out what the problem is. And I think it sounds like you're not really sure what it is, but communicating with her would really be helpful.
All right, the next one. I'm Carl and I'm 66 from Wisconsin. You talk about purpose after downsizing, but how do I find it when I've lost my garage, gave away all my tools, and with that went my sense of usefulness?
I went through that. I got rid of my garage, and I gave away all my tools. I had a wood shop. I had a lathe. I had a planer. I had a biscuit joiner. I had all of that stuff, and I gave it away to friends my age who also had garages, had space for it, and were interested in those kind of things. So I repurposed it and gave it to them, and that really felt good, and they appreciated it, and I felt like it got to a good home.
Yeah, well, and
I didn't answer the second part though.
Right. I also think
sense of usefulness.
Ask yourself this question. Is your sense of usefulness tied to those things in your past, or could they potentially be tied to something new in the future? And is there something else you could be doing? Could you repurpose some of your skills and go teach at the local high school in wood shop? I don't know what your tools were because I'm not real good at tools, but or could you help your son, daughter, son-in-law, daughter-in-law as they're building a new project at their home? Like repurpose your skills with their tools at their house, helping them do things. I know my brother's father-in-law is fantastic at that.
Yeah.
He can build anything. You describe it, it'll be built. So he's found a way to repurpose his skills at other people's home using their tools.
I like that. You answered that better than I did.
And I don't even know tools.
You don't know tools. I'm Daryl from New Hampshire. Downsizing exposed how little my wife and I talked about what we actually wanted. How do you start those vulnerable conversations before you make a huge move?
That's a great question.
Well, you just start them. I mean, you just have to say, hey, and we know, so easier said than done.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage.
I know people where the husband wants to downsize and the wife doesn't want to talk about it. So forget, it's a non-starter. We're not talking about it. That's not really fair. So I think that starting from square one and just be honest with her or with him and say, there's something that I think we need to start talking about. I'm not asking you to make a decision. I'm not asking you to change. I just want to share my feelings on something, and I want to hear your feelings on that. And that's all we really need to do to start, is to start that and have that. And then agree at the end, okay, but can we talk about this again and go a little deeper in another week? And I know it's hard sometimes. And, I think of this couple. I don't want to say their name because they watch our videos, but she doesn't want to move. She doesn't even want to think about it.
Well,
until one day she's going to say, it's time to move. So
I think it depends on the reason you're downsizing. A lot of us, as we move into the discovery phase, into these later years in life, downsizing makes good financial sense. And if it does make good financial sense, it's important to have the financial conversation. if it makes good locational sense. In other words, it no longer makes sense to live, I'll pick an expensive city like Manhattan. It no longer makes sense to live in Manhattan because of, taxes, the hassle, and we could do better if we move to, I'll pick a place like North Carolina. Is that a locational reason to downsize and to move somewhere else? If it's just about clutter and boxes and nobody wants to talk about why we have 12 moving boxes of your mother's blurry pictures in our space.
Do we?
We do.
I don't think we do we?
Oh, see, one of us doesn't want to talk about it. Sometimes you have to give that person grace. Mark had a relationship with his mom and dad that was just unbelievable and unparalleled, and I respect it. So when he's ready to talk about those boxes that are his, I can't downsize those boxes. It wouldn't make any sense. So sometimes it's about location, sometimes it's about finance, sometimes it's about just giving the other person grace if it's deeply personal.
Cool.
If you enjoyed this video,
you're going to like this next one too. And I think they started to come less because they were getting into deeper relationships with their partners.
I think one of the hardest things about downsizing, whether you're like me and kind of a minimalist or like Mark and you hold it onto things, you have some of your kids' stuff and it's very hard to make determinations on their things